Am I the a-hole for telling my wife to go no contact with her family after they invited her abusive ex on her birthday? I am 25 and my wife is 27. Actually, she isn't my wife yet. We will get married in May, so I will call her my wife, cause we both already consider each other as husband and wife, even though we aren't officially yet. I have been dating my wife since past 2 years, and my wife is kind of emotionally fragile. She is traumatized a bit. She told me early on that her ex has been verbally abusive and was rough on her. Even when we were dating, she was hesitant, and during sex she would ask me to go slow. We are comfortable now, but on her birthday, which was 24 days ago, my soon-to-be MIL and BIL invited her ex on her birthday, and in my home I was pissed, 'cause I knew what he did to my wife. My wife immediately grabbed my hand when she saw him, and she was scared. I asked him to get out, and my wife's family started convincing me, but I didn't listen, and I kicked them all out. My wife is hurt, even after almost a month, and I did my best to help her. We both decided to not invite them in our wedding and cut them off. Stut me. But they are saying through texts that I am going too far and manipulating her, and they want to reconcile with my wife, and I am keeping her away from her family. I asked my wife, and she said she wants to stay away from them for now, and wants to celebrate this year being officially married to me, and she hates them for inviting her ex on her birthday. Me and my wife has no problem with our decision. We are couples, we make our decisions together. But I am not feeling good about splitting my wife from her family, and they are saying that I am manipulating her and send me texts about how evil I am. I tried to tell them that I just want to do what's best for my wife, but again they repeat the same crap. Update. After we both decided to cut her family off, my soon-to-be MIL showed up at my place today, and she said that I am manipulating my wife, and she just wants to have a good relationship with her future son-in-law and her daughter, but I am being unreasonable. I asked her if she loved her daughter so much, why did they bring her abusive ex in our home? Did she expect us to just go through with it? My MIL apologized and said that ex is family as well, and they wanted to involve him and he wanted to apologize, but I kicked them out, and she wants to be in her daughter's life and her grandchildren's life, and she will never bring her ex in front of my wife, and even willing to cut him off. I asked her if she's so important, why would you bring your daughter's abuser in her home and on her birthday? You cause so much pain to her, and she doesn't want to talk to you right now. And what man hurts a woman as sweet and kind as her? She was abused, and she is still scared, and now not only her partner betrayed her, even her family betrayed her. I asked her to leave and told her that I will talk to my wife, and we will get back to her. After she left, I told my wife everything, and she was shocked, but she said if her mother is sorry and promising us that X won't get involved in our life, she is okay with it. I told her that we should wait, and after what they have done, we don't know if they are manipulating us or are genuine with their intentions. My wife agreed. She's still angry and sad, but I am helping her as much as I can to uplift her mood. But I don't know if my wife should be in their life. I can't tell her what to do, but as her man, I feel like I should protect her after what they did, and we trust and communicate with each other, and we don't do something unless we both agree on it. So I am wondering what I should do. Girlfriend and friends pulled a prank at my house that I'm really not happy with. How do I react? Background: both mid-20s. I live in a townhouse. My girlfriend and I have a mutual friend who is going to be out of town for work for quite a while, and she had been begging to go to breakfast with them the entire week. I was opposed, because they wanted to go at 6:30 a.m., and I typically work late into the night. I offered 4 different days we could get dinner, and the mutual friend declined. After continuing begging, I gave in to my girlfriend because it seemed that it meant a lot to her to see our mutual friend and his significant other at breakfast. I wake up at 6:15 a.m. to knocking on my front door, and open it to see an 8-foot-tall tower of red Solo cups filled with oatmeal completely blocking the door. I grunt and immediately close the front door. Keep in mind, this is the only way in and out of my house. I looked to my security camera to see them taking snaps and laughing outside. The 3 of them text me asking me to come out and go to breakfast, but they make no attempt to clear the door. I expect they're just waiting for me to blow through it and make a huge mess. I turn the lights out and go back to bed, so they leave. When I wake up, the tower is still there. It takes me about 20 minutes and 4 whole garbage bags to clean up what must have been over 20 pounds of oatmeal, not to mention the mess it made on my front porch and on the carpet in my entryway. I had planned on taking the girlfriend to an NHL game tomorrow, which would have cost me at least $100 in tickets, parking, food, etc. Now I have no desire to see or talk to her. I'm absolutely livid, because it brings me back to high school, where my car and house used to be vandalized in similar ways, saran wrap, Vaseline, toilet paper, etc. And I feel like it was meant as an innocent prank, but my natural urge is to go full scorched earth and just be nasty to her, which I know is not a healthy way to deal with this situation. I just want to know if I'm in the right and how I should maturely handle this situation without escalating it, while still expressing how disappointed I am in her. And my boy. Update. She replied after she got home from work yesterday. I told her I didn't want to see her, and she would text me whatever apology she had to say, but she came over anyway. She said the prank wasn't her idea, but agreed to let them use her house to prepare for it. She claims to have questioned going through with it, but my friend, who has known me significantly longer than her, insisted I would think it was funny, so she deferred to him. I told her I expect better from her, and that I expect her to stand up for herself. She went on to say she would never have pulled the prank or allowed it to happen if she knew my history with things. She didn't identify the major issues with the scenario on her own, having me wake up early for a breakfast I didn't want to go to for her just to be pranked, having to clean it up by myself while they went to breakfast, and her not checking up on me at any point. I told her one mistake was understandable. I told her more than one mistake is understandable, but I pointed out along every step of the prank that there were easy things she could have done to make it right, but didn't. I asked her how she could make such an obvious series of mistakes one after the other with someone she claims to love. Apparently, she asked some of her girlfriends for advice on what to do, friends unrelated to the story, and they told her to give me space. She was very insistent that she was sorry and wasn't perfect, but would always learn from her mistakes. I'm still mad at her, but we're back to being on good terms. If this wasn't the only thing she's ever done wrong in the relationship, I'd have been a lot more harsh, and maybe broken up with her, but, frankly, I think that'd be a waste in this case. If she makes other blatantly thoughtless mistakes like this in the future, then she'll probably be out of luck. But her reasoning and the way things played out are not okay, but understandable. On the other side of things, a mutual friend texted me the link to this post late last night, claiming to have found it while casually scrolling through Reddit. He identified that if he knew the history he wouldn't have done it, but not any of the other issues I listed above, which all of you commenting identified for him. I replied briefly and stopped responding, because I wasn't really impressed with his non-apology. I've known the guy for years, and I don't know what part of him thought that I'd find a huge friggin' mess amusing. My boyfriend has started acting distant and ghosting me after meeting my parents last week. How do I reach out to him? My 26 female boyfriend, 36 male, Derek, and I met through mutual friends 6 months ago, and we immediately hit it off. He is sweet, funny, kind, and just generally a good guy. He is super extroverted, and I have never seen him dislike or not click with anyone. I mentioned him to my parents a couple times, and they said they were excited to meet him. My parents live a road trip away, so Derek and I had to book a hotel nearby. About 2 weeks ago, we dropped all of our stuff in the hotel and arrived at my parents' house. My parents, 49 male and 50 female, are the most welcoming people you'll ever meet. They have met some of my past significant others in the past and have always been warm and kind. Since both my parents and Derek are charismatic and welcoming, I thought that dinner would go smoothly, but I was wrong. It didn't start off too bad. My parents and Derek seemed a bit awkward, but I assumed he was just nervous. We sat for dinner and my parents asked us a couple questions. How did we meet? How serious is the relationship, etc., etc. I'd never seen Derek stutter or hesitate before this dinner, but he did. As soon as I finished eating, he thanked my parents for dinner and said we had to go. It felt like he was rushing to get out of the house. When we got to the hotel room, he ran to the bathroom, and I heard him throw up. He said he felt sick and he was going to head back home, but he insisted I stayed and enjoyed the rest of the trip without him. I agreed, since I really missed my parents and he seemed to want to be alone. I texted him a couple times asking how he was doing / if he felt better, but he didn't reply. After 2 days passed, I started to get really worried that maybe he was really sick and had to go to the hospital or something, so I cut the trip short and headed back home. I went to his apartment and saw he was okay. I asked him how he was doing and why he wasn't replying, and he said he felt fine and that I was overreacting. He told me he still felt sick and he wanted to be alone. I went back home and texted him asking if I did anything wrong and if our relationship was okay, since he was acting so weird and cold. A week has gone by since the text message and he has not replied. Derek is the last person I'd expect to ghost me. I'm torn between wanting to give him space and wanting answers. How do I even reach out to him without pushing him further away? Date. Hey Reddit, sorry I didn't reply to that many of your comments. They were mostly just saying Derek was secretly my brother, which is horrifying, so I wasn't sure how to reply. I tried to reply to questions when I saw them pop up. The past few days have been a mess, but now that everything is settled, I thought I would go on here and update all of you. I took you guys' advice and decided to speak to my parents rather than Derek to discover if maybe they said anything or knew each other in the past, like many of you suggested they might. 4 days ago, I called my mum and told her about Derek's weird reaction after our dinner. I asked her for advice or if she knew what happened. She was silent for a moment and I heard her start crying. She started apologizing and I didn't understand what she was trying to tell me at first. Eventually I got her to calm down and she told me what had happened. My mum is a high school teacher and apparently Derek was her student in his senior year and she told me that they had an affair. She didn't give me that many details. Honestly, I don't even want to know. All she said is that they only slept together once before she shut it down and that my father knew and they had attended couples counseling years ago to work through this. She cried a lot and said it was her greatest regret. Then she told me she wanted me to break it off with Derek because he brought back really awful memories and she found the age gap concerning. She's one to talk about age gaps. But ultimately she said it was decision and she didn't want her past mistakes to ruin my relationship. I went to Derek's apartment again and he invited me in. He said he had to tell me something, but I stopped him and told him I had already talked to my mum and knew everything. He promised me he had no idea up until the point we had come over for dinner, where he immediately recognized her. He apologized for ghosting me and said he just didn't know what to say and he was scared that he would ruin my relationship with my parents or maybe ruin their marriage. I forgave him, but told him that the whole situation was just way too messy for me, and he agreed. So yeah, that's how my past few days have gone down. Honestly, I do kind of miss Derek, but not too much, since the whole banging my mum thing is a massive turn-off. Thank you for all the replies. I feel like I will never see my mum the same again. How can I work on rebuilding our relationship and trust moving forward?